The massive hospital ship USGS Compassion glided silently through the darkness of space. Its white hull gleamed under the distant starlight, the red cross emblazoned on its side, a beacon of hope. Captain John Miller stood on the bridge, his calm blue eyes surveying the star map before him. Their destination, Vega 7, was just a few hours away. "Captain, all medical systems are fully operational," Dr. Susan Gray reported as she entered the bridge. Her voice carried the excitement he always felt before a humanitarian mission. "The vaccination synthesis is complete, and we have enough to treat at least 500,000 of the affected population." John nodded with a small smile. "Good work, Susan. The vegans have lost too many already to this plague. I'm glad Earth could respond so quickly." The Compassion was Earth's pride, a vessel built not for war, but for healing. While other species constructed battleships, humans had invested their resources in creating the most advanced medical vessel in the galaxy. It carried no weapons, only reinforced shields to protect against space debris and minor threats. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Vegan Central Command," said Communication Officer Dan Peterson from his station. "They're sending landing coordinates for our medical teams." Humans were still newcomers to the galactic community. Only 50 years had passed since their first contact with alien life, but they had quickly earned respect through their medical knowledge and scientific innovations. The Compassion's mission to Vega 7 was just the latest in Earth's humanitarian efforts. "Nurse Taylor, please prepare the first response team," Dr. Gray spoke into her communicator. "We'll begin deployments as soon as we achieve orbit." In the medical bay, Nurse Eric Taylor and medical technician Laura Martinez were organizing equipment and briefing their teams. The medical bay hummed with activity as staff prepared mobile treatment units and diagnostic equipment. "Remember, the vegans have a different respiratory system than humans," Laura explained to the newer staff members. "Their oxygen levels need to be monitored carefully when administering the vaccines." Eric nodded, adding, "And their normal body temperature is much lower than ours. What feels cool to us is actually a dangerous fever for them." Back on the bridge, Captain Miller received an update from Earth Command. "Sir, just a routine message from Admiral Johnson. The Krull Empire has increased patrols near their border with vegan space, but they've made no threatening moves. We should proceed as planned." John frowned slightly. The Krull were known for their aggression and territorial disputes with neighboring systems. They had remained neutral toward humans so far, but their silence was unsettling. "Let's maintain standard alert level," he decided. "We're a hospital ship on a registered humanitarian mission. Even the Krull respect the ancient laws protecting medical vessels." The Compassion continued its approach to Vega 7, its engines barely making the sound. In the observation lounge, Dr. Gray stared out at the stars, thinking about the thousands of lives they would save in the coming days. "First time to Vega 7?" Captain Miller asked, joining her by the viewport. Susan nodded. "First time treating this species too. It's amazing how different yet similar all life forms are when you get down to the basics." "That's what Earth has been trying to show the galaxy," John replied. "That beneath our differences, there's a shared respect for life that connects us all." Little did they know that not everyone in the galaxy shared this belief. As the Compassion approached Vega 7, 3 Krull warships sat in hiding behind the planet's largest moon. Their weapons were armed, their crews ready. They had been watching Earth's expansion with growing suspicion, viewing their humanitarian efforts as a cover for something more sinister. "The human vessel will enter our sensor range in 20 minutes, reported the Krull commander to his superiors. "They travel without escort, as expected." On the other end of the transmission, a shadowy figure gave a simple command: "Proceed as planned. Let us see how these humans respond when their healers bleed." The Compassion began its final approach to Vega 7, unaware that its mission of mercy was about to become a catalyst for war. The USGS Compassion settled into orbit around Vega 7. The blue-green planet looked peaceful from space, giving no hint of the suffering on its surface. The first medical teams prepared to shuttle down to begin setting up field hospitals. Nurse Eric Taylor checked his medical kit one final time. All vaccines secure and ready for transport. He reported to Dr. Gray, who nodded with approval. The vacant officials say the worst outbreaks are in their southern continent, Laura Martinez said, studying her tablet. We should focus our initial efforts there. Captain Miller's voice came over the ship's communication system. All medical teams, prepare for deployment in 10 minutes. Remember your training on vegan customs. They consider it respectful to bow slightly when greeting their elders. The mood on the ship was focused but hopeful. This was what they had trained for, to bring help where it was desperately needed. Without warning, the ship rocked violently. Red emergency lights flashed throughout the corridors as the alarm blared. What was that? Dr. Gray steadied herself against a wall. On the bridge, Captain Miller watched in disbelief as 3 crawl warships appeared from behind the moon, their weapons already firing again. Shields at 60%, shouted the defense officer. Sir, we're taking heavy fire. This is impossible, Miller said, his mind racing. Open a channel. All frequencies. Dan Peterson worked frantically at the communications console. Channel open, sir. Crawl vessels, this is Captain John Miller of the Earth Hospital Ship Compassion. We are an unarmed medical vessel on a humanitarian mission. Cease fire immediately. The only response was another barrage that shook the ship even more violently. Sparks flew from damaged systems, shields failing. The defense officer reported, hull breach on decks 3 through 5. Captain Miller made a quick decision. Send the emergency distress signal to Earth. Now. Deep in the ship, Laura Martinez helped injured crew members toward the escape pods. The medical bay was in chaos, with wounded staff and supplies scattered across the floor. We need to evacuate the patients already on board, Eric shouted over the alarms. He guided 2 injured vegans who had been receiving treatment toward the nearest escape pod. Dr. Gray rushed through the smoke-filled corridors, directing everyone she could find to safety. Head to the escape pods. Move quickly but calmly. On the bridge, Peterson worked desperately to send their distress call. Captain, I can't guarantee this will get through their jamming, but I'm boosting the signal as much as possible. Miller nodded grimly. Send everything. Our coordinates, ship status, and video of the unprovoked attack. Earth needs to know what happened here. Another blast rocked the ship, more powerful than the others. The bridge lights flickered and died, replaced by the dim glow of emergency lighting. Sir, we've lost engines and main power, reported the engineering officer, blood running down his face from a head wound. Life support is on emergency backup only. Outside, the crawl ships circled the crippled hospital vessel like predators. Their weapons had torn huge gashes in the Compassion's once pristine white hull. The Red Cross emblem was now scorched and barely visible. They're launching boarding craft, the sensor officer said quietly. Captain Miller stood tall despite the hopelessness of their situation. All personnel, this is the captain. If you can reach the escape pods, launch immediately. For those who cannot. He paused, his voice steady despite the circumstances. It has been my honor to serve with you. In the medical bay, Dr. Gray heard the captain's message. She looked at Eric and Laura, who had stayed behind to help the wounded who couldn't be moved. We took an oath to do no harm, she said softly. But we also took an oath to protect life. If we're captured, remember your training. Stay alive. Bear witness. The first crawl soldiers burst through the damaged hull sections, their armored forms moving with practiced precision. They showed no mercy, shooting wounded crew members and taking only a few prisoners. As Dr. Gray was roughly seized by crawl soldiers, she watched in horror as they executed injured patients lying helpless on medical beds. She fought against her captors, screaming in rage and despair until a blow to her head silenced her. Captain Miller, still on the bridge, sent one final personal message toward Earth just before the crawl reached him. They attacked a hospital ship. Remember us. The distress signal, carrying proof of the unprovoked attack, raced through space toward Earth at the speed of light. Admiral Frank Johnson stood frozen as the distress signal from the Compassion played on the main screen. The control room of Earth Defense Headquarters fell silent. Every face showed shock as they watched the crawl ships attack the unarmed hospital vessel. "Play it again," Admiral Johnson ordered, his voice barely controlled. The footage repeated, the sudden appearance of crawl warships, Captain Miller's desperate attempts to communicate their medical status, the merciless bombardment that tore through the Compassion's minimal shields. The final message from Captain Miller echoed through the room. "They attacked a hospital ship. Remember us." Johnson turned to his communications officer. "Verify this." "Now." "Already confirmed, sir," the officer replied, her face pale. "The signal contains all proper authentication codes. It's real." The Admiral closed his eyes briefly. He had known John Miller for 20 years. They had trained together. And now, "Get me the President. Immediately." In the Oval Office, President Olivia Clark watched the same footage with her Security Council. Her normally calm demeanor had hardened into something like stone. "How many were on board?" she asked. Defense Secretary Allen checked his tablet. 342 medical personnel, plus 45 vacant patients who were already receiving treatment. "And we've received no communication from any survivors?" the President asked. "No, Madam President. A few escape pods launched, but long-range sensors indicate the crawl destroyed most of them. The ship itself was boarded. We must assume all remaining crew were either killed or taken prisoner." President Clark stood and walked to the window overlooking the White House garden. For 50 years, humanity had worked to present itself to the galactic community as peaceful explorers and healers. They had maintained only a modest defense fleet, focusing instead on scientific and medical advancement. What the galactic community didn't know was that Earth had prepared for exactly this scenario. "Initiate the retribution protocol," she said quietly. The Defense Secretary looked up sharply. "Madam President, are you certain?" "Once activated." "They attacked healers," she interrupted. "They executed wounded patients." "Yes, I'm certain." The Defense Secretary nodded and made a secure call. Minutes later, a new face appeared on the briefing screen. Fleet Commander William Scott. He wore a simple black uniform with minimal insignia, unlike the more decorated uniforms of the regular Earth Defense Force. Commander Scott reporting, "Madam President. You've seen the footage from the Compassion." "Yes, Mom. My entire command staff has reviewed it." President Clark took a deep breath. "The Shadow Fleet has remained hidden for 15 years. I had hoped it would never be needed. But now, we understand our purpose, Madam President," Scott replied. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with controlled anger. "The fleet is ready." In a hidden facility beneath the lunar surface, lights activated in vast chambers that had remained dark for years. 50 warships, sleek, black, and deadly, powered up their systems. These vessels represented Earth's true military capability, kept secret from the rest of the galaxy. Commander Scott strode through the command deck of the largest ship, the EDF Vindicator. Crew members moved with purpose, preparing systems that had been maintained in constant readiness but never deployed. "Time to full combat readiness," Scott asked his executive officer. 2 hours, sir. All crews are reporting aboard." Scott nodded. "And the special weapons systems?" "Operational, sir. The Crawl have no defense against them. They've never seen this technology." In a secure briefing room, Scott addressed his senior officers. Maps of Crawl territory displayed on the screens behind him. "For 15 years, we've studied every known alien combat tactic," he told them. "We've analyzed Crawl defenses, fleet movements, and vulnerabilities while presenting ourselves as primarily a scientific and humanitarian presence in the galaxy." He brought up the footage from the Compassion. This was not just an attack on a ship. It was an attack on everything humanity stands for. Our response must be decisive. The officers nodded in grim agreement. On Earth, Admiral Johnson met with the President one final time before the Shadow Fleet departed. "Once this begins, there's no going back," he warned. "The galaxy will see what we're truly capable of." President Clark looked at the photos of the Compassion's crew displayed on her desk. They believed they were safe because they came to heal. They were wrong. It's time the galaxy learned that humanity's mercy is a choice, not a weakness. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Commander Scott gave the order. The massive bay doors opened, revealing the star-filled darkness of space. One by one, Earth's hidden warships emerge, their black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. The Shadow Fleet had awakened. The Shadow Fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 50 warships, their black hulls absorbing nearby starlight, traveled in complete silence. At the center of the formation, the massive dreadnought EDF Vindicator led the way. Its size dwarfed the largest known crawl battleship. On the command deck, Commander Scott studied the tactical display. "Status report," he ordered. "All ships at full combat readiness," reported his executive officer. "Stealth systems functioning at 100%. We remain undetected." Lieutenant Commander Kate Russell stood at the weapons console. Her fingers moved across the controls, activating systems that had remained dormant for years. Quantum torpedo arrays online. Pulse cannons charge. Targeting systems calibrated. Scott nodded. "And Artemis." A soft blue light appeared on the command console. "Artemis artificial intelligence online and functioning at optimal capacity." A calm female voice responded. "Combat simulations complete. I have analyzed all known crawl battle strategies and developed countermeasures." No other species in the galaxy had developed AI systems as advanced as Earth's. This was another secret they had kept hidden. "Prepare for fold space jump," Scott ordered. The navigator looked up in surprise. "Sir, the calculations for a jump this large are already complete," Artemis interrupted. "I have plotted the safest course to bring us within striking distance of the crawl border outpost K7. The crew exchanged glances. Fold space technology was yet another capability Earth had developed in secret. While other species used standard faster-than-light travel that took days or weeks, Earth could cross the same distances in minutes. "All ships prepare for fold space jump in 60 seconds, Scott announced to the fleet. Throughout the ships, crew members secured themselves at their stations. Many had trained for years for this moment, but none had ever performed an actual combat jump. "Remember why we're here," Scott's voice carried to every ship in the fleet. "Remember the Compassion." The space around the fleet began to shimmer and bend. Stars stretched into lines of light, and then the fleet vanished in a flash of blue energy. Near the edge of crawl territory, a small outpost monitored the quiet sector of space. Two bored crawl officers watched their sensors, expecting another routine shift. "Sensor contact," one suddenly called out. Multiple vessels just appeared out of nowhere. The crawl commander rushed to the console. "Impossible. No ship can appear without coming out of light speed first." "Sir, I'm counting 50 vessels. Configuration unknown." Before the commander could respond, their communication system activated. Commander Scott's face appeared on their screen. "Crawl Outpost K7. This is Fleet Commander William Scott of the Earth Defense Force. Your empire has committed an act of war against humanity by attacking our unarmed hospital ship. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The crawl commander laughed. "Human, your species has no significant military force. Whatever ships you've brought will be no match for the crawl empire." Scott's expression remained calm. "You have 30 seconds to comply." On the Vindicator, Kate Russell watched the time countdown. "They're activating their defense grid and signaling for reinforcements," she reported. As expected, Scott nodded. "Lieutenant Russell, you may fire when ready. Disable, don't destroy." Kate's fingers danced across her console, targeting their communication array and weapon systems only. Firing. From the Vindicator, beams of energy shot forth with perfect precision. The outpost's main weapons battery exploded in a shower of sparks. Their communication dish crumpled like paper. The entire attack took less than 5 seconds. The Krull commander stared in shock at his failing systems. What kind of weapons are these? How do they target so precisely through our shields? Similar precise strikes disabled 3 Krull patrol ships that had moved to intercept. Not one was destroyed, merely rendered harmless with surgical precision. This is your final warning. Scott transmitted to all Krull frequencies. Return the survivors from the hospital ship Compassion, or we will demonstrate the full extent of humanity's military capability. Deep in Krull territory, Supreme General Draknar received the alarming reports. Impossible, he hissed. The humans have no such technology. They are healers and scientists, not warriors. His aide approached cautiously. Sir, the border outpost has sent visual confirmation. These are not the simple defense vessels we've seen from Earth before. These are something else entirely. Draknar studied the images with growing concern. The human ships were like nothing in their database, sleek, black, and emanating power readings that shouldn't be possible for vessels that size. We have gravely underestimated them, he whispered. On the Vindicator, Scott turned to his communications officer. Broadcast the footage of the Compassion attack on all Krull frequencies. Let every one of their citizens see what their military did to our hospital ship. As the images spread across Krull communication channels, Commander Scott addressed his crew. This is just the beginning. They will learn that attacking those who came to heal was the worst mistake they could have made. Lieutenant Paul Davis led his squadron of stealth fighters toward the Krull early warning system. These small, nimble craft had never been shown to the galactic community. They slipped through space like shadows, invisible to standard sensors. Alpha Squadron, maintain stealth approach. Paul instructed his pilots. Remember your training. Quick and clean. The fighters approached a massive sensor array that formed the backbone of the Krull border defense network. From here, the Krull monitored all approaching ships and coordinated their defensive forces. In position, reported his wing commander. Awaiting your signal. Paul checked his tactical display one final time. Deploy EMP drones now. From each fighter, tiny drones no larger than a human hand detached and moved toward the sensor array. They attached to different points on the structure, their magnetic clamps securing them in place. The Krull guards stationed on the array noticed nothing. Drones in position. Ready on your mark. Paul took a deep breath. Execute. All at once, the drones activated, sending powerful electromagnetic pulses through the sensor array. Lights flickered and died throughout the structure. The massive dish that sent and received signals stopped its constant rotation. Direct hit. Their early warning system is offline. Paul reported back to the Vindicator, moving to Phase 2. On the command deck of the Vindicator, Commander Scott received the news with satisfaction. Good. Now they're blind. Begin the main advance. The Shadow Fleet moved deeper into Krull territory. Smaller vessels spread out in a carefully coordinated pattern, while the larger warships formed a spearhead with the Vindicator at its tip. 3 Krull battlecruisers moved to intercept, unaware that they faced not just a few human ships, but an entire fleet. When they came within range, they opened fire immediately. Krull vessels firing, reported Kate Russell. Their energy weapons are having no effect on our shields. As expected, nodded Commander Scott. Their technology hasn't advanced significantly in a decade. Ship Engineer Rodriguez, show them what we've developed in that time. Maria Rodriguez had spent 15 years helping design the Shadow Fleet's weapon systems. Now she activated her console with practiced efficiency, initiating phase disruptors. From the Vindicator, waves of energy spread outward, passing through the Krull ship's shields as if they weren't there. The energy didn't destroy the ships, but instead rendered their weapon systems useless. Their shields use a frequency modulation we mapped years ago, Maria explained to a junior officer. Our phase disruptors simply operate on a frequency their shields can't block. The Krull commanders watched in horror as their weapons went dead. They had never seen such technology before. Scott opened a channel to the disabled Krull ships. "Your vessels are now harmless. We could destroy you, but unlike you, we don't attack those who cannot defend themselves. Abandon your ships. Escape pods will be allowed safe passage." In his fortress on the Krull homeworld, Supreme General Draknar received increasingly disturbing reports. The humans had bypassed their early warning system, neutralized their border patrols, and were now advancing toward the Krull's most important military installation, the orbital fortress Unbreakable. "It's impossible," he growled. "The fortress has never been breached. Its shields and weapons are the strongest in the Empire." His military advisors looked nervous. "Sir, these humans, they're using technology we've never seen before." Draknar slammed his fist on the table. "Deploy everything we have to protect the fortress. It cannot fall." The orbital fortress Unbreakable was the pride of the Krull military, a massive structure with overlapping shield generators and weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets. It had stood for 3 centuries, repelling every attack. As the Vindicator approached alone, Krull gunners locked onto the human vessel and fired everything they had. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Earth ship. On the Vindicator's bridge, the crew remained calm as the barrage approached. "Artemis, analyze their attack pattern and adjust shields accordingly," Scott ordered. Analysis complete. The AI responded smoothly. Shield modifications implemented. The Krull weapons struck the Vindicator's shields and dissipated harmlessly. Not even a flicker disrupted the ship's systems. "Sir, should we return fire?" asked Kate Russell. Scott nodded. "One shot, Kate. Show them what happens when they attack healers." Kate's fingers moved across her console, targeting the fortress's main power core. Quantum torpedo armed. Target locked. Fire. A single torpedo launched from the Vindicator. It moved with impossible speed, passing through the fortress's shields as if they were mist. It struck precisely at the power core junction. The fortress didn't explode in a massive fireball. Instead, sections of it went dark in sequence as power systems failed throughout the structure. Within minutes, the supposedly impenetrable Krull fortress floated powerless and defenseless. "How?" whispered a Krull officer as he watched from a nearby vessel. "How could one ship do this?" Scott opened a broadcast to all Krull frequencies again. "This is Commander Scott of Earth. Your unbreakable fortress has fallen without a single Krull life lost. This demonstration of restraint is more than you showed our hospital ship. Return our people, or our next target will be your military headquarters." Throughout Krull territory, civilians and military personnel alike watched in stunned silence as their greatest military achievement was neutralized by a single human ship. Intelligence Officer Ryan Cooper sat alone in a dimly lit room aboard the Vindicator. His eyes were closed as he concentrated on the data flowing into his neural interface. Earth had developed this technology to allow specially trained officers to process vast amounts of information rapidly. "I found them," he said suddenly, opening his eyes. He tapped his communicator. "Commander Scott, I've located the Compassion survivors." Minutes later, Scott and his senior officers gathered around a holographic display showing a Krull prison facility deep within their territory. "The facility is on Krull Prime, their most heavily defended planet," Ryan explained. "It's normally used for political prisoners and special research subjects. Our people are being held in the lower levels here." He pointed to a section of the building. Scott studied the layout. "How many survivors?" "Based on energy readings and life sign analysis, I estimate 28 humans still alive." The room fell silent. Out of nearly 400 people on the hospital ship, only 28 had survived. "Security measures?" asked Major Lisa Bennett, commander of the Special Operations Team. Ryan zoomed in on different sections of the facility. 4 guard rotations, automated defense systems, and a shield generator that prevents direct transport in or out. Lisa nodded, already formulating a plan. "My team can handle this. We'll need to insert at this junction and work our way down." "You'll have whatever support you need," Scott assured her. "This is why we're here, to bring our people home." 12 hours later, a small stealth craft approached Crawl Prime, using the planet's magnetic field to mask its approach. Inside, Major Bennett briefed her team of 8 elite operators. "Remember, this is a rescue mission, not a revenge operation," she told them. "Our primary objective is to extract our people alive." Combat medic Greg Howard checked his medical kit. Unlike standard military medics, he carried advanced equipment based on the same technology used in Earth's hospital ships. "I'm ready for whatever condition they're in," he reported. The team wore advanced combat exoskeletons, another technology Earth had kept hidden from the galaxy. The suits enhanced their strength, speed, and durability while maintaining full flexibility. "Approaching drop point," the pilot announced. 30 seconds. Lisa checked her weapon one last time. "For the compassion," she said quietly. Her team nodded in silent agreement. The craft briefly touched down on the outskirts of the facility. The team moved out with practiced precision, their suits allowing them to move faster than any Crawl soldier could react to. Inside the prison, alarms suddenly blared. "Perimeter breach in Sector 7, a guard shouted. "Unknown intruders." While the guards rushed to the reported breach, Lisa's team entered through a different access point. They moved silently through the corridors, disabling security systems as they went. "First guard patrol ahead," whispered one of her team members. Lisa signaled for them to hold position. When the Crawl guards rounded the corner, she fired her stun weapon. The guards dropped without a sound. "Non-lethal takedowns whenever possible," she reminded her team. "We're better than they were to our people." They reached the lower levels and found the first holding cells. Inside, they discovered humans in medical uniforms, survivors from the compassion. Greg Howard rushed to check a man slumped against the wall. "Captain Miller," he said with surprise. "He's alive, but barely." John Miller's face was bruised and gaunt. He had clearly been tortured but had somehow survived. Greg injected him with medical nanites that began rapidly treating his injuries. In another cell, they found Dr. Susan Gray. Unlike the other prisoners, she appeared to be in better condition. "Dr. Gray," Lisa said as they opened her cell, "we're here to take you home." Susan looked up, her eyes showing both relief and determination. "About time. I've been treating everyone I could." The Crawl wanted to understand our medical technology. She gestured to the cell across from hers. "They've been experimenting on Eric and Laura too." They found Nurse Eric Taylor and medical technician Laura Martinez in adjoining cells. Both were weak but alive. "The Crawl were fascinated by how advanced our medical knowledge is," Susan explained as Greg treated her injuries. "They couldn't understand why we would share it freely with other species." As they gathered the survivors, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. "Major, we've got company," reported one of the team members. "Looks like at least 30 guards heading our way." Lisa checked her tactical display. "Our extraction point is cut off. We'll have to fight our way out through the main corridor." Just then, Captain Miller stirred and grasped Lisa's arm with surprising strength. "There are Crawl patients," he whispered, "in the research wing. Sick ones. Susan was treating them too." Lisa looked at him in disbelief. "You were helping the Crawl after what they did." Miller's eyes were clear despite his weakened state. "We're healers. That's who we are. That's what they tried to destroy." Lisa made a quick decision. Change of plans. "We're taking the Crawl patients too." Her team looked surprised but quickly adjusted to the new objective. As they moved toward the research wing, Crawl guards closed in from both directions. "Looks like we fight," Lisa said, readying her weapons. "Remember your training." What followed would later become legendary in both human and Crawl records. 8 human special operators in advanced combat suits facing off against dozens of Crawl soldiers while protecting injured prisoners. The team moved with impossible speed and coordination, their suits allowing them to dodge energy blasts while returning precise fire. Greg Howard fought while simultaneously treating the weakest survivors. "Stay with me, Captain," he urged as Miller's vitals fluctuated. "We're getting everyone out, just like you would have done." The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Captain John Miller was wheeled to the speaking platform. Though still weak from his ordeal, he had insisted on addressing the emergency session himself. Dr. Susan Gray walked beside him, ready to assist if his strength failed. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations watched with solemn faces. The attack on the hospital ship and Earth's subsequent military response had shocked the galaxy. "Members of the Council," Miller began, his voice soft but steady, "I come before you not seeking vengeance, but justice, not just for humanity, but for the very principles that bind us together as a galactic community." The Krall delegation sat separated from the others, their once proud demeanor now subdued. Their military leadership had been dismantled, with moderate factions taking control after Earth's show of force. "When the Compassion answered the call for help, we came as healers," Miller continued. "We carried medicine, not weapons. We brought hope, not threats. The unprovoked attack on our vessel violated not just Earth law, but the ancient laws that all civilized species have honored since we first reached for the stars." Outside the council chamber, the Earth Shadow Fleet maintained a defensive position. The Vindicator and its companionships had revealed humanity's true capabilities to the galaxy, but in a way that demonstrated both power and restraint. "The humans speak of restraint," the Krall representative interrupted. "Yet they brought a war fleet to our doorstep and dismantled our defenses." After heated debate, the Krall accepted the terms. The new moderate government, having witnessed Earth's power and restraint, chose cooperation over continued conflict. As the council session concluded, Dr. Gray approached Miller. "We lost so many friends," she said quietly. "Was it worth it?" Miller looked at the representatives now engaging in earnest conversation, including humans and Krall standing together. "Susan, they attacked us because they feared what they didn't understand. They couldn't comprehend why we would freely offer medical aid without seeking advantage. And now they begin to understand that compassion isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength any species can possess." 6 months later, a new ship prepared for its maiden voyage. The USGS Redemption gleamed in Earth orbit, its hull bearing both the traditional Red Cross and new defensive capabilities. Unlike its predecessor, it would travel with an escort of visible warships. Captain Miller, now recovered, stood on the bridge with Dr. Gray, who had been appointed Chief Medical Officer. Nurse Eric Taylor and medical technician Laura Martinez joined them, along with new crew members eager to continue the humanitarian mission that the Compassion had begun. "It feels different this time," Laura said, looking at the military escort vessels through the viewport. "The mission remains the same," Miller replied. "We go to heal, to help, to serve. But now the galaxy understands that our peaceful intentions are a choice, not a limitation." On the main communication screen, President Clark offered final words before their departure. The Compassion represented humanity's highest ideals. The Redemption will carry those ideals forward, but with the protection they deserve. Go safely, return safely, and show the galaxy what humanity truly stands for. As the Redemption departed Earth orbit, its escorts moved into formation around it. The ship's registry displayed proudly on its hull. USGS Redemption, Hospital Ship, Earth. The message to the galaxy was clear. Earth would continue to heal the sick, help the suffering, and extend friendship to all peaceful species. But never again would anyone mistake their mercy for weakness. They had attacked a hospital ship. Earth had unleashed its war fleet. And the galaxy had learned a valuable lesson.